So before I go and pull these pipes out from the lower legs, I'm just going to let them hang for a little bit and just let all that rest of that oil get out. Separate the stanchion from the lower leg, and we got to pull it through this seal, which is sometimes a little tough as a one-person job. But the way I do it, since I do it by myself, is I'll use the axle, or you guys can go choose a bolt of proper thickness to go in the bottom. At the very minimum, you're going to use this bolt to have something to hold on to at the base, so you put your feet on it, and you can go at it with your hand and pull up, and you can pull out just like that. If they're in there really good, the other option is to use the bolt again method, and this could be kind of slippery. You can't get good grip on the stanchion part. What I have is a bar that I drilled out, that I use the top bolt from the fork leg, and I drop it in there, and it gives me like a handlebar. So then I'll tighten it down on there. So essentially I'm just going to create a little bit of a push-pull method here, where I can hold onto my top and yank it up and out. Alright, so now we have the lower forks, the lower legs separated. We can go ahead and get some brake cleaner, get this all cleaned out really good, get all that old oil and anything that's managed to work its way down in there. Pull your drain plug out also again, so that you can clean it, flush it. This fork leg here, if you want to, just take like some steel wool. On this one we got a lot of rust buildup, and that was what was giving us that hard time getting it out from the lower triple tree. So I'm going to go ahead and clean that up so I can get it to appropriate diameter to slide it back up. We have our old fork seal on. We'll go ahead and take those off. And I got the new Honda replacement. I just buy the Honda brand. You can still get it, and I'll get you a part number in the bottom of the video. I put a 3M Scotch-Brite. It's a super fine wheel on this polished benchtop polisher. The original lower leg had paint on it. It's all beat up, so I just put a satin finish on it and cleaned it really good with some brake cleaner inside. I'll go do a final wash on it to make sure I get all the debris out. And then we're going to put the leg back in and press the seal in it, okay? So we got both legs polished, rinsed again, cleaned out so there's no debris in there. And we got our stanchion legs. I went ahead and used, you can use a steel wool, some WD-40, and clean up your rust on here. I went ahead with the 3M wheel, had a little heavier duty 3M wheel. I went up and cleaned up as much of that rust and smoothed out the surface on the leg that needs to slide up into the triple tree area. So as far as assembly goes, everything's nice and clean, and we're going to go ahead and just put your lower leg back into the lower fork. Go ahead and push that down in there. Make sure you sit this aluminum sleeve down in there a little further. Just make sure it gets down in there. And then what I have is the old bushing I pulled out. I got my new 2 bushings, new ones. So I'm going to go ahead and put my new bushing on. Go ahead and push it down in there. Now I'm going to use the second bushing, which is the old bushing. I'm going to slide that over the top so that I can use that to help push down the new bushing and seat it. And then I know there's some tools out there that you can buy, but I ended up just going and getting a piece of steel tube, and I'm going to use this as a hammer press. I use this, and the secret for me is that I'm using this old bushing as the driver of the new one. We got to get it set far enough in there that we can get our circlip back in. Let's get our circlip in. You sometimes need a little persuasion to seat them, just in case that you didn't get your bushing in all the way. What I do is I get my circlip inserted, and I'll go ahead and use that old seal again and do the same press method to help seat that circlip down and get it to snap into place. Faces upward towards the spring that's going to sit on it. It's got this little ledge and lip here. Okay, and then the other side that only has the ledge on it is the one that faces down towards the fork leg. Alright, so spring is going to sit inside this part, and this goes and slides downward towards the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and put some grease in here just to help prevent it from sticking down later down the road. Alright, so then the spring next. Remember the tight coil windings go downward towards the ground. Slide that in. And then we're gonna be ready to put it back up into the triple tree. Before I slide the fork stanchion back up, I'm gonna use a Dremel here with a little sanding wheel and clean out this area like I did right here. You can see how that's nice and polished out, and that one's really rusty and corroded, so I'm going to go ahead and do that to both those so that we got a good opportunity for the fork to slide up pretty friction free. That triple tree will clamp on this fork leg. I just put a little bit more grease on this area. I don't think it's going to hurt anything. It just help prevent that rust from building back up, hopefully. So if you're sitting on the bike, your left side is going to be, remember, that's your brake. Your brake cover on your hub goes on the left side of the bike, okay? So make sure you put that leg back up. I already inserted this leg. I'm going to show you how to put it on the right side, and the right side does not have that little nub on it, okay? So like I said, you got to have this on first. Push it all the way up and try and get this to slide up. Just should. Okay. And then our next step is let's get our fork ears on. We got to put our triple tree, the top plate on, but we got to be gentle with this area because this will, this stanchion, if you're not gentle and you're trying to feed your bolt back in after the plate is on top of it and it falls down, it's not going to catch the threads, so you're not going to be able to tighten it up. So we got to kind of be gentle with that process of putting the plate on and slowly putting the bolt in to thread it, and then you'll be okay. But if you knock that down, this starts to slide down, you're going to lose it and that bolt won't grab it. So That just fell down on me. So I got the far one threaded in. The other one fell down in there. So I'm not going to be able to get my bolt to grab. So in that kind of instance, I've made a tool. Oops, zoom back out. So that top part of that stanchion fell in. Bolt's not going to grab it. So I made a tool that's a rod with the actual bolt thread on it. And that way I'll be able to put it back down in there. Thread it. And then pull it back up. We got the lower torque down, it's holding the stanchion. I'm going to untighten the oil top bolts so you can put the oil down in, and then we can, once those are loosened, you can start rotating your ears a little bit and get that back in place for your headlight to get installed. The final stretch here, pulled my bolts back out. I use Maxima oil. I'm going to use a 15 weight. You can play around with your weights. This is going to be adult ridden, so I want the heavier weight oil. Since it's a rebuild, it's been cleaned out, drained. I'm going to put 3.8 ounces of the fork oil in it. I use a little syringe. This is a 60 ml syringe, but in order to get 3.8 ounces, I need to put about 112 ml. So I'm going to fill this all the way up to 60 ml and then go another 52. And that should get me there. So I'm going to do that here and do it on the other side, bolt it down, and then we gotta just put our wheels back on and we're gonna be ready to go have some fun. Oh yeah, also make sure you tightened your 10 millimeter drain bolts at the bottom of your legs, okay? Wheels going back on, got my axle, my castle nut. Get yourself a new pin here, cotter pin for safety, and go ahead and bend that up. And that's going to be a wrap on the front end fork seal rebuild. Alright guys, hopefully that was helpful. I mean, that's all to it. You just need a couple of those tools that I've made to make things a little easier, like that one thing to pound in the seals, or come up with some form of idea to get that seal to seat down into the lower fork leg so you can put your snap ring back in. But I think I kind of showed you everything you probably would come up against on this rebuild. And then again with the fork oil, it's up to you to decide kind of what fork weight you want to go with. The higher the weight, the stiffer the fork compliance will be for a heavier rider. I think 7 weight was a factory manual recommendation, and then like 3.4 ounces is a wet fill if you were just to drain your oil and refill it. But if you're doing a full rebuild like I did where you removed all the oil, I've read 3.8 ounces is a appropriate amount. You can read in different forum groups and stuff, and they'll have different volumes, but it's up to you to play around with. But I just put 3.8 in it, and that's how I've always done it, and it's been a nice ride. So appreciate it, guys. Subscribe if you don't. That helps me make it worthwhile for me putting all these hours into these videos for you guys. Okay, more to come. Thanks.